Have you ever really stopped to think about that thing you do, that habit you lean on when you're stressed, and wondered if it's actually a friend or maybe a foe in disguise? Well, we're about to dig into the surprising science behind our coping mechanisms and figure out how they really, truly shape our mental health. Okay, so let's just jump right in with a question that I know sounds kind of out there. What on earth could a counting pigeon possibly have to do with your mental health? It sounds weird, I get it, but stick with me here, because the answer reveals something absolutely fundamental about how our own brains get wired.
The secret is all about learned behavior. And to really get it, we're going to look at a classic experiment from the world of animal psychology, where some researchers taught a regular old pigeon to do something pretty remarkable.
So the whole process is called shaping, and it's actually brilliant in how simple it is. You don't just, ask a pigeon to count. You start super small. You reward it with food just for looking at a screen. And every single time it gets that treat, its brain gets this tiny little hit of dopamine that basically says, yes, do that again. You do this over and over and over, strengthening that connection. Then you slowly make it more complicated. Peck the red button for 2 flashes, the green one for 3. Over time, that simple reward system builds a complex, learned habit. And there it is. That's the link. Our brains work on the exact same principle. We pick up habits, our coping mechanisms, that give us a small, immediate reward, that little hit of relief in the moment. And our brain reinforces that action, just like the pigeon learned to peck the screen to get a snack. So here's the problem. A lot of these habits we learn are just short-term fixes. You know what I'm talking about. Procrastinating on that huge project that's making you anxious, or just endlessly scrolling on your phone to kind of numb out. It can even be stuff that seems productive, like over-planning every single detail to avoid any uncertainty. They feel good for a minute, but they almost always create a much bigger problem down the road. And this right here perfectly shows the trap. In the short term, boom, you get instant relief. That anxiety just melts away. But the long-term results? It actually trains your brain to become more anxious, more burnt out, because you're teaching it that the only way to handle discomfort is to just run away from it. You've probably heard this quote before, and man, does it nail this. We feel anxious, so we scroll on our phones for relief. The next day, we're anxious again, so we scroll again. We're literally doing the same thing over and over, hoping the anxiety will just magically go away. But all we're really doing is digging ourselves deeper into a useless cycle. And this brings us to the real, hidden cost of all these habits, what they do to our self-confidence. Every single time we lean on one of those quick fixes, we're slowly chipping away at our own belief that we can handle tough stuff. This really gets to the core of what anxiety is. It's a 2-part problem. We think the situation is way more dangerous than it actually is, and at the same time, we think we're way less capable of handling it. Our bad habits feed both sides of that equation. They make the danger feel bigger and make us feel smaller. I want you to think of it like this. Our brain has a resilience muscle. And just like any muscle, it only gets stronger when you work it out. Every time you feel anxious and you choose to just sit with that feeling for a minute instead of reaching for a distraction, you're doing a rep. You're building your ability to cope. But when we grab our phone for reassurance the second we feel a pang of worry, we're basically skipping the workout. And the sneaky thing is, for a long time, we might not even notice the damage these habits are causing. They're just kind of running in the background, seeming pretty harmless. That is, until life decides to throw everything at us all at once in what you might call a perfect storm. A perfect storm isn't just one bad thing happening. It's when a bunch of major stressors pile up at the same time. Like maybe your friends are treating you badly, and right then you get cut from the team. And on top of that, you lose a family pet, and then you get a bad report card. Any one of those things is tough, right? But when they all hit together, the pressure just feels completely overwhelming. And what happens in that storm, our internal battery just gets completely drained. All our mental energy is just gone, just trying to stay afloat. All of a sudden, we're running at like 40%. We're just on fumes. And when we're in that state, when we're running on empty, we don't have the energy to do the hard work of coping in a healthy way. So we fall back on those easy, unhelpful habits. But now, they don't even bring relief. They just turn up the volume on our inner critic, leading to those thoughts like, what's wrong with me? Or, I'm such a loser. Our confidence just tanks, and we get stuck in a downward spiral. So how do we get out of this? Well, the good news is that we absolutely can. It all starts by shifting from being stuck in the cycle to becoming aware of the cycle, and then starting to take small, deliberate steps.
If we were talking about physical fitness, the advice would be simple: start moving more. Well, the equivalent for mental fitness is to start talking more. We've got to break the silence that so often surrounds what's going on inside our heads.
Now, the magic of talking isn't just about venting, it's about discovery. When we actually say our feelings and behaviors out loud to a friend, a therapist, or even just to ourselves in a journal, we start to see the patterns. We pull them out of our heads where they're easier to look at. We uncover those hidden, unhelpful habits. And that awareness, that is the essential first step. You can't change a habit you don't even know you have.
So let's make this really practical. I want you to take a second and ask yourself this one simple question. When you feel that wave of stress or anxiety or sadness wash over you, what's your immediate go-to reaction? What do you actually do? Just be honest with yourself.
Okay, now for the follow-up, and this one is absolutely crucial. After you do that thing, have those underlying feelings, the stress, the anxiety, have they actually gotten better over the long run? Or have they pretty much stayed the same, or maybe even gotten worse? Your answer to that question tells you everything you need to know about whether your coping mechanism is helping you or just keeping you stuck.
And here's the last and maybe the most important thing to remember. Just like that pigeon's brain was shaped by simple rewards to learn a new skill, your brain learned these coping habits. And that means it has the incredible capacity to unlearn them and to build new, healthier ones instead. Change is always possible, and it all begins with just a little bit of awareness.